Look at this official Soviet photograph. A group of men standing beside a canal with Stalin. Now look at the same photo published a few years later. One of the men is simply gone. Erased, as if he had never been there. His name was Nikolai Yezhov, once the head of Stalin's secret police. When he fell from power and was executed, he was scraped out of the negative and painted over. This was the 1930s. No Photoshop, no AI. Just a brush, a knife, and a regime that wanted to rewrite the past. And it is one of thousands of reminders of something we keep choosing to forget. Photographs have been lying to us almost since the day they were invented. We tell ourselves the camera doesn't lie, that a photograph is proof. Today, we are frightened of AI fakes, and we are right to pay attention. But the belief that photography was ever a pure, untouched window onto reality, that was the real illusion all along. You're in the darker room, where every video unpacks one photograph or one photographer that changed history. If that's your thing, a subscribe really helps. Photography barely had a decade behind it before people began faking it. In 1840, just 1 year after the medium was announced to the world, a Frenchman named Hippolyte Bayard, furious that he had been denied credit for his own invention, staged a photograph of himself slumped as a drowned corpse, with a caption accusing the government of driving him to suicide. He was very much alive. It is widely considered the first staged photograph in history, and it was made in protest. 17 years later, in 1857, the photographer Oscar Raylander built a vast allegorical scene called The Two Ways of Life. It looks like one photograph of more than 30 figures. It is actually more than 30 separate negatives, painstakingly combined into a single print, a darkroom collage. Queen Victoria bought a copy. Photography was still learning to stand, and artists were already constructing images that had never existed in front of any single lens. As studios filled with paying customers, retouching became routine. By the 1860s, photographers scraped, penciled, and painted directly on negatives, smoothing skin, removing blemishes, even slimming the body. The flattering portrait was a manufactured product, and one of the most famous American portraits of all is, quite literally, a composite, a heroic, standing image of Abraham Lincoln that pairs Lincoln's head with the body of the politician John Calhoun, the most recognizable face in American history, grafted onto another man's body decades before the word Photoshop existed. Nowhere do we want photographs to be honest more than in war. And nowhere have they been arranged more often. During the American Civil War, Alexander Gardner made a haunting image he titled Home of a Rebel Sharpshooter, a dead soldier in a rocky nest. Historians later showed that Gardner's team had moved the body roughly 40 yards from where the man actually died, propped a rifle beside him for effect, and composed the scene for the camera. The grief is real. The arrangement is invented. Even our most sacred images carry this shadow. Dorothea Lange's Migrant Mother, from 1936, may be the most reproduced photograph in American history. We picture Lange catching a single fleeting instant. In fact, she made a sequence of frames, moving closer and directing the scene until the composition worked. And when the picture was later printed, a thumb gripping a tent pole in the corner was quietly retouched out because it distracted from the face. The defining document of American hardship was both directed and edited, and there is a further human twist. The woman in the picture was later identified as Florence Owens Thompson, and for the rest of her life, she said she felt the photograph had exploited her. She never received a cent from the most famous image of the Great Depression. And yet, the photograph worked. Within days of its publication, the federal government rushed thousands of pounds of food to the starving camp at Nipomo, though by then Thompson and her children had already moved on and never saw any of it. And sometimes the lie is sweeter. In 1917, two young English cousins photographed what they claimed were real fairies at the bottom of their garden. The images, the Cottingley fairies, fooled none other than Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, who championed them in public. The fairies were paper cutouts held up with hat pins. It took until the 1980s for the cousins to confess. So here is the uncomfortable truth. Long predating any computer, Photographs have been composited, retouched, staged, miscaptioned, and politically erased for as long as photographs have existed. The honest camera was never fully honest. Every photograph is a set of decisions. Which brings us to now. Generative AI can conjure a photoreal image from nothing at all. No scene, no subject, no camera. AI pictures have entered photography contests and won, before being disqualified, in one case exposed only because the community found a hidden AI watermark in the file. The world's biggest camera makers publicly agreed that generative creation does not belong in photography. And in an eerie rhyme with the past, the authorship of one of the most famous war photographs of the 20th century was formally suspended after new analysis cast doubt on who really pressed the shutter. AI severs the last thread between an image and a true moment of light. But the deeper lesson is older than any algorithm. A photograph was never proof by itself. It was always a claim, made by a person, for a reason. The question was never simply, is this image real? It has been, who is showing this to me, and why did they make it look this way? Nikolai Yezhov was erased with a brush and a blade. Today, he would vanish with a single click. The tools get faster, the temptation stays the same. Looking closely and asking who made the image and what they wanted you to feel was never optional. It is the entire job. If this gave you a new way to see an old photograph, consider subscribing. There's always another story on the way.